So now we're rolling.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Linville. Welcome to Awaken Hidden Truth. People are waiting to watch our show to start because people get a good experience by now. And I have a few questions for you today too.
Okay. I'm glad to be here again. We do it every 2 weeks now. We could do it every week, but I wonder how many people are really putting in the effort to get the benefit out of the guided journeys I conduct to get them out of their bodies, put their body to sleep like they do at night, and go beyond the earth to get outside the negative atmosphere of this planet. That's why we go out of body above the planet before we start these journeys, to get above the negative atmosphere on earth, because in space, in that black void of space that people see in a Hubble telescope image, there's no negative or positive energy there at all. It's a pure positive hue energy, toroidal or 0 point energy, which makes up the energy between worlds and space, moons and suns and stars and galaxies and other dimensions. And it's one energy that all of that moves in. There's an energy behind all other things people see that is not atomic or nuclear in nature. It isn't made of electrons and protons and neutrons and all of that that makes up DNA and atoms of the body or atoms of a planet or atoms of a sun. It is an energy behind energy that is conscious and living. It's always been there, and we move and have our being in it. The illusion is that people are physical bodies on earth. That's Maya. That's an illusion. They're actually spherically shaped beings, just like a planet or a sun or a moon. Those things are created in the image of their creators. And the actual being that we are and have always been was in existence before the worlds of time and space were ever constructed. And that means that as beings running human bodies on earth, that's how old we are. Just because people have been long perverted and distorted and suppressed and put on earth with no memory doesn't mean they didn't once know this. So we go back to, let's find out what your questions are.
Okay. Interesting question. The first one from Victor. First, he said, really enjoying the experiences, read your books, went into several journeys, and slowly beginning to understand what are you doing? Simple, take responsibility for enlightenment through knowledge. And her question is, my other bodies in the other realms, dimensions, can they share or suffer too with all my present body ills and complaints?
Yes and no. That means that you might have an astral body that's not suffering. It's living a life thousands of years longer than you live on Earth, made of matter of a finer molecular time rate than atoms that make up physical matter on Earth. And it may or may not be suffering. Probably some of the ills she's experienced are coming from a life and troubles she's having in the astral plane, next dimension up. She has a life, she's living there. She's been made to forget this, doesn't aware of it right now. But a normal human being on many other worlds, even in the physical universe, are aware that they have body forms that are running in other dimensions, particularly below what Buddhists call the void. Etheric, mental, causal, astral, physical. There's 144 parallel dimensions in each one of those. It's a big creation, and that's just creation below the void. There are many realms made of pure positive energy that have no negative nature above that void. And if you don't know how to imagine them or get there, you will not get there, because the omnipresent, meaning it's everywhere, energy that's in the space between planets and suns and moons and stars that appears dark or black in time-lapse photography of it, like Hubble telescope and space shuttle and all that, satellites, actually is a brilliant white golden light that fills the void of space. People in the CERN Super Collider, Large Hadron Collider in CERN, Switzerland, have detected what they've detected what is dark matter, of energy behind molecular matter that doesn't act like the law of physics. It's behind it. So they call it the God particle. Probably appropriate. They don't know what to do with it. They just know it's behind everything, and it's not nuclear. Big surprise that they found that out on Earth. That's a big step forward for people on this planet. Unfortunately, most people never learn about what they're finding out at that CERN Super Collider, because it's just scientists that generally deal with that. It's not necessarily classified, but it's not public knowledge either. unless people look into it, take the time to research it, then they can find out the information. The point is that the energy out there is not a void. It's not, there's no oxygen, but it's packed full of radiant energy. Beings from other planets that get around the star systems know how to work with that energy, but it's not nuclear. If you want to go faster than the speed of light, you better know how to work with that, or you're not going anywhere. It's outside of a rocket tin can, and that will never take you very far. So, rockets with ballistic backgrounds and engines are never going to get to other planets practically, ever. It take 2 years back and forth from Mars just to ride in one of those tin cans. People would die in the journey because there's no artificial gravity unless classified people provide it, like for someone like Elon Musk, because he's never going to take live people to and from Mars. They won't survive it unless he has artificial gravity and recreation and everything aboard that ship. They won't survive it. And this is proven by US and Russian joint scientists, 2 people that went aboard the International Space Station in weightless gravity for a year. When they came back, they lost bone mass, different organs were atrophied, they had problems with their bloodstream. They had to get rehabilitated when they came back. 1 year. So how are people going to survive a rocket ship ride 2 years each way to Mars? They're not. That won't get us out in space, that kind of technology. It's practical, very practical. You get to the moon, sure, and back. That's what, 7 days? No big deal. 2 years each way to another planet? Not going to happen. It isn't going to happen. So I can put this information out on this radio show. But if people really want to know the truth of this, they can invest. I'm not telling people anything that isn't already out there available for them to research if they're aware enough to find it. Like, do the research about what happened with the 2 scientists that got, the Russian and US scientists that shared in weightless environment for a full year on that space station and came back. It would have killed them had they stayed much longer. So you can't hang around in zero gravity in a human body without it atrophying and dying. It needs gravity. So yeah, that's one thing. Obviously, people from other worlds have learned how to move around the universe with artificial gravity. In fact, when you put an electromagnetic field around a ship that creates what they call anti-gravity, it creates its own gravitational center. You don't need artificial gravity. You have to know how to create a craft that will work with a gravitational field around it separate from the field of energy like Earth. It has to be polarized so it can move away from or be attracted to other gravitational fields. It's very simple, really. But without that, you can't really ride around in a spaceship and survive for very long. Any spaceship, anywhere. Think of it this way, evolutionarily, if you want to look at it that way. Human bodies on Earth live in a gravity environment with oxygen atmosphere. The DNA evolves and grows old and dies in that environment. If you take that and put it in space with no gravity, you're taking away all the support mechanisms that make human life possible. You might have oxygen on a spaceship, but if you're floating around with no gravity, it will kill you. After a while, your body will just suffer and atrophy and die. So this woman who asked this question, when I said yes and no, it means I don't know what her astral body's doing on the astral plane. It may not be suffering at all. But here's the thing. Just because it's so-called a higher self, what people call a higher self, without really understanding what that is, they have a higher self living in the astral, one in the causal, one in the mental, one in the etheric, and one on Earth. That's 5. That each person, each atma running a body on Earth has and don't even know it. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily aware of each other or helping each other like they should be. If you're in the astral plane and you happen to be in one of the parallel dimensions where you can fly around the physical body, people assume everybody does it there. This is not true. Some do, some don't. And those that don't are very jealous. And they'll send police after you if you try to do that. It's not what people think. So she could have problems in her causal body or mental body where all of the mind energy comes from. The body and brain you grew up with is just developed until an adult to learn how to function in the physical world here and whatever it learns growing up. But it isn't the mind that makes a person brilliant or that they think with. It's not coming from the brain. It comes from a body. They're running 4 dimensions up from here. It's channeled down through the pineal gland, the center of the brain, by them. What they are is not a body. The astral body looks like a physical body made of finer molecular matter, a little higher energy, but it's still a physical form. What we are that runs those bodies is spherical. It's spherical, soul, atma, what beings from other worlds call atma, people on earth call soul without knowing what it is spherical. What moves in and out of a body when it dies is this spherical energy. So if this person begins to work with the hue and the techniques on the back of the Savior's Agenda book, or even just goes to my website at paralleltime.com and clicks on the link at the top that says About Scott Hugh, H-U, first half of the word human, and they work with that, then eventually their awareness of what they're doing on these other planes will be recovered in their awareness on earth. That's all I can tell them. And until a person gets off their rear end and actually does the work to use their creative imagination properly, and that's not fantasy. Imagination, what you use to daydream with, to look out of a window and imagine you're on a ski trip, is not made up in the human brain at all. What you're seeing is not being seen from some motion picture camera and screen in your brain cells. No. It has an entirely different function in the brain than that. The being, when they're doing that and daydreaming, is actually the spherical being, usually above the body, running it, looking at what it's looking at in the daydream. People on earth are not taught this, so they're ignorant. They have no idea what to do with the imagination. Most of them think it's fantasy made up in their brain because their parents tell them that in their own ignorance, in their own fear. So many people are afraid to leave the body while they're alive. So they figure better just wait, and then, some savior or somebody will take you to heaven. You can find out the truth then after you die. That's absurd. You need to know who and what you are running a body on earth that isn't a body while you're alive. So faith should lead to direct experience. Direct experience makes a person a confident knower. Faith should lead to knowing, not just faith lead to faith. Because if it's all you have is faith, you're not never sure. There's doubt. You're not sure what's going on. You have to wait till you die to find out. I don't know of anybody on earth that's come back from being dead here to tell people what it's like and what happens when you go there. If somebody has a near-death experience or dies and they're brought back to life, they still can't tell anybody else the benefit of what their experience was, except for people that have it. Usually the fear of death leaves them because they know they were out of the body. There was something that can't die, the advantage of that. But it's better to have a direct experience with this without a near-death experience, under your own control, under your own creative imagination, to work with the omnipresent hue energy that's throughout the universe, which is a telepathic medium, which means the being running a body on earth can connect with it through the water in our bodies, which is 4th phase water, not H2O. So, since it's not my work as a scientist to work with that, there are scientists on earth working with 4th phase water who have recently proved its existence and its value, its benefit to know this. There are shamans on earth that telepathically talk to beings from other worlds, getting near a big body of water on earth because they use it as a generator, a transmitter. They can use the 4th phase water. I think there's an extra hydrogen atom on it, if I'm not mistaken. And it can store energy or information on 5 different dimensional levels. And it can act like a battery and store energy, and it can be a transmitter. So people who are human can communicate through the pineal gland, through the physical body, to other beings elsewhere, or they can get above the body and communicate from the spherical center of their being directly with them. more advanced races that travel in ships around this galaxy and other galaxies in different dimensions understand this. For instance, a person from the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, located on a planet, Zetranami, near the center of our galactic core, not at the center, but near it, can come to Earth and see what they're going to do as the Atma, or what people call soul, fully conscious, long before the ship gets there. All they have to do is sit the body, one of their bodies, down in the ship, leave it, put it to sleep while others run the ship, and then they can do all kinds of things consciously. Beings on Earth are supposed to be able to do this as well. But on Earth has had serious, very serious problems happen here that other planets have not. For one, the poles flipped here every single 100,000 years, wiping out all life and creating new land masses. Other planets don't go through this process. Earth did. So it's been very severely limited to evolve for millions of years like other planets undisturbed. Till recently, these polar flips were scheduled to happen again. And because of the fact that we're not alone and there are beings in the universe who run the mechanics of creation, have ceased the polar flips of this planet permanently. No more golden age to iron age and back again. That's all over. That means this planet can now eventually evolve to be like other worlds, can take its place among a much larger organization of spacefaring races that exists out there right now. To do that, people in governments have to get over their fear of telling people the truth about their knowledge of extraterrestrial life. Absolutely essential for their survival and well-being that they do this. Because our solar system has been quarantined. We are prevented from even using reverse extraterrestrial technology to go outside this system. Because we're dangerous people. People on Earth are subconsciously in their, what people call the subconscious mind. They have negative programs which would encourage them to bring their destructive behavior, prejudices and biases and everything else, political and religious, out among the stars and throw that up on people who are far more evolved than anything on Earth, who could teach us how to be free. You can't go out there with a big ego trip in a spaceship and, well, we're going to go plant an American flag over on Mars, or we're going to do it out here and bilk the resources. No, you're not. Because space is already occupied. We need to learn how to live with those people, not go through our crap on them. People on Earth need to grow up, and they got to stop lying to each other. Number one, governments are going to have to get over this habit of lying about everything to everyone, especially classified people. Most of the classified people and those I've met don't want to lie to people. They're under orders to do it. They don't like it. Most of the generals don't like it. It's coming to an end because it must. This planet's survival is at stake, and this means the elite as well. If they want to survive this change, these unexpected changes coming our way, they're going to have to work together in harmony, and they're going to have to work for the common good of all life. Right now, they are not doing that. They know they have to because they've been told directly by beings from other worlds that they have to. This is no joke. They've been told you can't play among the stars the way you are. First thing that had to happen is tyrant races that were influencing leaders here, few of them underground, had to be removed from our solar system, and they were. But we didn't do that. Next, when people are out of their bodies at night, sleeping, they can meet with beings where they feel freer and more expanded and less afraid and begin to change. So when they wake up in the morning, they're more prepared for disclosure. This is going on all over the planet for the hidden leaders, the elite, and the mass of people as well. It's going to take some time to ramp it up to where we can invite people from other worlds to come here in massive numbers of ships and land. They're not going to force their way here. We have to ask for it. If they hadn't already intervened a little bit, we would have blown ourselves up in nuclear war because people in the military tried to do it, and they were stopped from off-world. So we have a bright future. And it isn't about destroying things in order to get this world to change. That is not the way this can be done properly. Okay, I hope that answers that person's question. I can't answer her questions for her about her astral body, whether or not there's problems with it like she has on Earth. But the more she works with the hue and the techniques at the back of the Savior's Agenda book, for instance, the better off she's going to be.
So can those body in other planes feel her body here on physical body?
Only if they're aware enough to even care to look.
Okay.
If you're in a higher dimension with a higher ability and a higher body, and you're caught up in the phenomena of that plane, why would you care about some little body back on Earth? They can be just as trapped as people on Earth. So really the key here is about waking up what we are that isn't any physical form. Human beings are not human bodies. The human being, you man, you woman, is a sphere. It's an energy. It is eternal in that it's not nuclear, but it is energy that people on Earth don't yet understand. And it runs everything. Collectively, combined together, all atmas are the source behind all life. And it has a presence far above the void, way up in the higher worlds. It isn't negative. It's never been negative in nature, but different rulers of the lower dimensions of time and space have become that way. These are the beings people are praying to. They're not out for your benefit. People need to get above this idea of putting someone on a pedestal, even the supreme being. Because the source behind all life, prime creator is what people from other worlds call it, who know what it is personally, never required that we worship it or pray for it or put it on a pedestal to save us. We're supposed to be co-creating with it new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life. That is what we're supposed to be doing. I can't make it any plainer or more honest or more direct than that. Human beings, not the body, are meant to co-create with the source behind all life. And that is our real destiny and purpose for existing as beings. So it's a pretty lofty future indeed. Even if they destroyed the earth today and everybody died, only bodies would be gone. The beings would still be alive going, oh, we screwed that up. Now what do we do? Because they've done it many times before on other worlds, even on Earth, where the surface has been destroyed. This world has been capable of inhabiting, having beings like us inhabit it for 65 million years, since the dinosaurs were made extinct. There's a history there that's missing from the consciousness of people on Earth. What is their own history? Not just on Earth, but where they've incarnated or taken on forms in other worlds. Most of the life beings on Earth have lived have been on other worlds. If you've lived 10,000 lives here on Earth, you've lived 1 billion elsewhere. That's how ancient we really are. And that's how asleep and unconscious people on Earth really are. They don't know any of this anymore. They get up, they wake up, they grow up, and they think, what am I doing on Earth? Who am I? I don't remember anything, right? Not a thing. They don't know they're not a body. They don't know about lives or past lives necessarily, unless they've studied them. And they think mistakenly that this planet is normal, that it's a normal human planet. It is not a normal human planet at all. It's way out of whack in every way imaginable from normal. There are millions, hundreds of millions of worlds out there in our Milky Way galaxy that are normal. Earth is not one of them, not yet. I want to make that clear because our job as people is to stop bitching and complaining about evil and start doing something consciously about ending it. Other people in other worlds have done this, and they can help us do it. They're not tyrants. They're not going to force it on anyone. They want to be asked. President of the United States and others were asked at the end of World War II, and they turned them down out of fear. Good guys I'm talking about. And it wasn't forced on them then either. Today, times are much different. The one thing that needs to be, I think, put across to listeners of this show is that people in charge of military on this planet, here and in other countries that had nuclear weapons, tried to annihilate us a number of times in scenarios that have never been disclosed to the public. And each time they tried that, their computers were shut down from space. It doesn't mean that somebody wants to control governments here. Nobody wants that nasty job of running governments on this planet. Are you kidding? But they're not going to allow us to blow ourselves up because we would harm billions of other life forms in other parallel dimensions in the physical universe and harm space in ways we can't imagine. We do not have the right as a bunch of lunatics unconscious on Earth to blow ourselves up and harm them. We do not have that right. You want to blow yourselves up? Contain it in Earth. There are parallel dimensional doorways to other realities on Earth in secret locations that are protected. Nuclear war would affect those in a negative way. And I can tell you for a fact, beings out there are not going to tolerate it. Ever. So we're not going to have a nuclear war. That's why I don't worry about it, period. And I don't. I don't care any fear of nuclear war, the future, in my daily life on this Earth. None. That alone is pretty freeing. Okay, what are your other questions?
Next question from Thai people. They would like to know, why are some people born disability or born with a health problem from birth?
That's easy. When they died in another life, they brought their fear and negativity with them to the next life and created those scenarios. Because, here's why. This hue, this first sound behind creation, missing word in certain religious books on Earth, isn't a physical word, it's a sound. And its native origin is not in the lower dimensions of time and space, but it runs through all of them, supports it. That one energy, this one power, is not an individual atma or soul or being. It is a living force we all live and move in as individual drops of this mighty ocean of sound and light. It's like being a pure drop of a conscious being in a whole ocean of the same substance. The whole ocean is not an individual, but all the individuals that comprise this source, these individual drops, make up the supreme source, or let's not use supreme, prime creator, or the source behind all life. It's important to know that, because then you can start to do what we're required to do to have spiritual freedom, to have freedom as a being. And that is, we must be able to respect that source, know that source personally, because we're capable of understanding it, contrary to what people are taught on Earth. Not the human brain and body, but the sphere that runs that brain and body can most certainly understand the source behind all life, because they are made of the same energy, identical to it. Absolutely identical on a smaller scale. So you see, we always had a link from here to there that's never gone away. Even though people have been made to forget it, or afraid of it, or fear of death, or fear of leaving their body, they say, oh, if I get out of my body, a demon will get me. And I point out to them, you've already been got. You're on Earth with no memory. You don't know who you are, what soul is, or where you've been. You were already caught. Getting out of your body can't trap you worse. There's only one way up for people on Earth, and that's up. They're so far down the scale of forgetting and unconsciousness. The only way they have to go now is either annihilation or up. That's it. So it's very bright in that respect, because in reality, we only have one direction to go now out among the stars, and that's upward in awareness. We don't have any.
Yeah.
So
So
your
that what
question,
yeah. So like, once they born disability or health problem from birth, and once they reborn incarnate again, what can they do to change or to fix this problem?
first of all, they're not going to be able to fix that problem on Earth with medicine as it's practiced here, because no doctors anywhere on this Earth that practice medicine will ever tell you they can cure anything. They don't even mention the word cure, or they could lose their license. So now we're forced into a situation with a pandemic where they must come up with a cure or end life here as we know it. So they're going to be forced to come up with cures they have not released to the public before for their own survival. That's a good thing. If we can solve this one, we can solve all diseases, including the common cold. There is a cure for that too, by the way. We don't have the technology on Earth, but people from other worlds have long since mastered this. On Earth, they've mapped out 1 billion genomes or more of the DNA that make up the twin strand that we call human bodies. The genomes are switches operated by precise frequencies You turn off or on them. You can turn off one that's meant to live 1,000 years and say it'll live 80 or 90 just by turning a switch. And if you're a tyrant, you want to suppress people in bodies with no memory, stick political prisoners on Earth, force them here without sneaking around the Galactic Alliance. There's been a Cold War going on for 500,000 years that's coming to an end out there between the few tyrant races that have misused technology and captured beings and done things just in the physical universe, and the vast majority of beings that work together in harmony. They don't even use money. It's outlawed out there. They don't sell ships, anti-gravity ships to other people and make profit and live in mansions. That isn't the way it works off this planet. That's an Earth thing. That's a tyrant thing. And that whole way of doing things was imported to this planet. It did not get invented on this planet, not even in Rome. All of that royalty was brought here from other worlds, small areas of Earth under treaty. All that's changing too. Fortunately for us, or we would not have a chance of surviving what we're doing now on this planet. Okay, is there any other questions?
The next question, it seems like many people make choices in life based on beliefs and what was imprinted into their subconscious memory during childhood or even before birth. This can result in self-sabotage. Can you offer some ideas on how to use the HUE for negative subconscious or unconscious belief systems and programming?
Yeah, I mean, when you work with the HUE and you start to be sincere about working your creative imagination properly, you're not going to get any benefit from the HUE off planet or from other beings as long as you are insistent. Any people listening to this show, unless they insist, if they insist on creating fear of the future, fear of the present, and want a good life for their family, they're contradictory imaginations that oppose one another and neutralize the energy. The omnipresent living energy out in space is a pure energy. It's a telepathic medium, but is a co-creator with us. Do you know what that means? It means what we imagine in it, it provides the power and the means to bring into manifestation, into reality, what we imagine, good or bad or both. So you see, people on Earth need to discover how to use that higher faculty of creative imagination correctly. They're not using it correctly now. They're misdirecting and misusing it in opposing ways, positive and negative, with lower world energies. The energy that makes up the being is not positive or negative or either. It's a pure positive energy that comes from realities far above the void. And it has supposed to have mastery over positive and negative energies in the lower dimensions of time and space. That is what our future destiny is, to be able to have conscious mastery over such things. If people have been twisted or bodies captured and killed in dramatic and terrible ways in other lives, the impression that the Atma gets, the spherical being running a body, often is done in a manipulative way to get them to be afraid, to remember who they are, what they knew as a being, spherical form, other lives they've had, who they once were, what soul is, the Atma, how to move it around the universe, fear of death, fear, terror subconscious program says, if you ever try to remember this, we're going to eat you alive. There's a good one. And if you go beyond the misuse of extraterrestrial technology to implant people in the subconscious, create an artificial subconscious mind, an energy field around the Atma through which they see distorted images of what's out there, that's all reversible. People's disabilities on Earth are reversible. And if people have enough discipline to work with the HUE, they can get, if they become aware of what they are as an Atma, not a body or brain, they can work with master teachers and beings who are not from Earth, who don't have subconscious minds, to help them change their reality on this Earth. They can change it. I think that's what the person asking that question wanted to hear. But that means they're going to have to recover who they are to do it. And that's not a brain or body with disabilities, because the Atma doesn't have any unless it believes falsely that it does. And then it will cause that problem in the physical body. or bring it from another existence where they had a firm addictive attachment to these negative conditions. Because when the body dies, the only thing you take with you is your state of conscious awareness. And if you're afraid of everything when you die, you're going to project that and draw to you the kind of situation that will bring a person into an incarnation with similar problems they already once had. Because we're required to learn how to become adept at utilizing the creative imagination in only uplifting, benevolent, kind ways for all life. This is what we're meant to do. You can't do this effectively if you're not aware of all the life that's out there in the grand multidimensional creation beyond Earth. Because the huge, infinite, vast majority of life that makes up the source, what people call the supreme being or prime creator, people call it from other worlds, what the vast majority of that is not on Earth. It's out there. It's in other dimensions. Earth's one little planet of misdirected people running around bumping into each other all day with no memory or very little. That is not normal. The more people become aware of the fact that's not normal and why, the better off they are going to be, because the innate core of an Atma has carried with it through eternity that it has mastery and has always had mastery over any form of negativity, negative being in or out of bodies or negative technology. It has been deliberately manipulated to forget this and doubt it. Faith isn't enough. It has to go into direct knowing certainty. The Atma has the ability to know things with absolute certainty, confidence. It isn't faith. What we are that's part of the divine is a knower, not a believer. The source behind all life isn't a believer, it's a knower. And we make that up. That should be enough right there to get people moving in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. I go to the next question. From Stephen Oleksy. I read the book, try to consistently do the exercises, but when we are going to get exposed to the power of the thing that help convert or restore those that were lost, it seemed that was the only way to be able to remember the exercise, help expand the imagination to the delightful stories you tell, but no further, only helps to escape the immediate traumas of day. When does the ultimate golden light come to permanently escape the traumas of this current world system?
It's not going to happen. The power, as long as any of you use this as a power and you think of it as a power you're going to possess, you're making a very wrong mistake in judgment. You will never possess the power from the source to use any way you wish. The power itself is an omnipresent living energy through all things in the multidimensional creation. It supports galaxies and worlds and planets and things and people and bodies. But it is a co-creator with us. If you want to experience the golden white light of the hue expansion, the new ray, in the omnipresent first sound behind creation, which is new, about 8 Earth years old, even in the upper worlds, then you're going to have a co-creative involvement in having that experience. It is not going to be dumped on your head by some being carrying a magic wand and going, twang, you're free. Because the subconscious drives that are in you now, in a day, would pervert that energy and destroy you with it. It is a co-creator with what we imagine. Remember this. Most people are trained to be mindlessly entertained on Earth. And they don't want to do the work to actually get free themselves. They want it done to them. That isn't going to happen. People on Earth need to be co-creatively awake and involved in order to get beings who can help them change their body and their consciousness. They are not tyrants. They will not work with us unless we ask them to. We don't put them on a pedestal, but we have to be respectful of them. And if you don't know they exist and you don't even know they're out there, how can you respect what you don't know exists? So you have to work with the hue in order to have experiences until you can get to that point. Once the hue crosses your path, if you're sincere, This process is not reversible. It's one way, which means you're going to have to be perseverant. You're going to have to do the work to recover what you're afraid to recover, subconsciously afraid to recover it. Person asking the question, like everybody else on earth, is not alone. Most people are terrified to know who they are that isn't a physical body. And they're more terrified to come face to face with the Supreme Being. They've been taught that it'll put a pitchfork up your keister and send you to hell if you don't worship it. That is the teaching of tyrants only. It is not the way things really are outside of this planet. It will help people to know in whatever faith they believe in on this earth, because I'm not here to tell them to get in one thing and out of another, is that there are no religions represented on this planet that exist anywhere in any other world system outside of this earth. None of them. They work with knowing what this energy is that supports the whole universe, what they are that isn't physical, and they know it consciously. How are people on earth going to project their religions on them and be of any benefit to them? They're not. But those beings out there can be of great benefit to us because they understand going from faith into experience, into knowing. People on earth need to recover this more than any other thing. Because right now, the person that asked the question, and everyone else, really, most people on earth, are really in terror of knowing the truth. They're afraid. They've been manipulated to be afraid of the truth. So the hue will help them. What it does is it shuts off the subconscious programs, the negative drives. When a person goes into this, they're going to feel, if they do it right, they'll be hue, hue, and they'll begin to feel uplifted. A warmth will come through their being, and they start to not be afraid. It just shuts it off. The more it's shut off, the more you can exert your own command, your own use of the creative imagination over changing what your life is like on earth. And I'm speaking to everyone, which includes myself. The same laws of the bright use of the imagination apply to me. And they apply to everybody else that's not on this planet also. We're all in this together. And I don't mean just the people on earth. We're all in this together, the whole thing. We are meant to be experiencing running bodies on different dimensions, knowing what we are that isn't the body, and co-creating new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life. This is why we exist as individual drops of this pure conscious energy from the source as individuals, to do that one day properly. I think that should answer that question. Looks like your video froze. Why don't I pause the recording? We're recording again, continuing right from where we left off. I announced that I was going to pause the recording and that I asked you to log out and log back in. And so we're just continuing right from where we left off in the same one show. Okay. It's the advantage of Zoom. It's pretty cool. If something screws up, you can just pause it, fix it. If I don't log out of the show, because if I do that, then I come into another session, have to send you another link.
Correct.
This way, the same link will work with the same show.
Okay.
Okay. So there is another question, or I think we've answered all that?
Now I have another question, one last question. Okay. In your book series Agenda, you refer to what are called engrams. I first heard this term from Scientology. They say an engram is...
I don't remember even using that word in the book. I may have mentioned it, but I'm talking about implants. Implants are not engrams.
No, but this
work has nothing to do with any organization, religious or philosophical or esoteric on this planet whatsoever. It is not involved with any of them whatsoever. What I do represents vast world systems of kind beings and master teachers, not of earth. It is not tied to or part of any organization on this world. I am not a member of any organization on this world. None.
Okay.
That should answer that. I'm not going to get into discussion of whatever that is. Okay, that's not my concern. An
Okay.
engram is an impression left in the subconscious from torture, death, near death, something like that. You can carry it with you from life to life, but I don't work, and we don't work with engrams. It's far more deep problem than that. Implants are artificially created programs created by the misuse of science by tyrants not of earth to imprison political prisoners and force them in bodies on a planet to hide them and make them forget, put them in a body with shut down genomes on the DNA. So when they wake up in it, they can't make things function like they normally should. That is the condition of all the people on this planet, Earth. It's not just about implants. An implant is not an engram. It is a negative program of terror, torture, and death artificially created and placed in an energy field, a heavy electromagnetic field surrounding the Atma, because the Atma itself, soul, cannot be harmed or destroyed by any tyrant or technology. But it can be, a situation can be put around it artificially through which it sees distorted impressions of reality beyond itself in the grand multidimensional creation. It sees fear and terror if it tries to remember. It doesn't see the program as far as the visual of what the program is, the torture and the death. It's very clever because they don't see or hear anything, they just feel it. And the feeling motivates them or manipulates what decisions they make on Earth. And those decisions are manipulated so that people stay unconscious on a planet with only faith, with no experience until they die. That is the path of tyrants. So removal of implants is something that takes awareness of what you are as an Atma, not a body, not an engram under the skin, not an implant or in the brain or anything to do with the DNA. It has to do with a program you take with you from life to life, one that can compel you to reincarnate another body with no memory. This kind of thing was not done to people on Earth. It was done before they were sent here. I can't be more clear than this. When I say this, people are going to go, what did he say? Did he really just say what I thought he said? Yes, he did. And people way down deep under the fear and the terror know this is true. One of the first things that has to happen for people in order to recover higher faculties of the Atma, even on Earth, through a body like an Earth human body, is to drop revenge and anger and fear about what happened to them. Very difficult to do if you don't remember what it was that was done to you. Okay, here's why. This new ray created a way of energy moving through the omnipresent hue, the first sound behind creation, now only works one way. It will not work with negative emotions and negative imagination at all, in any way. People cannot use their fear or demands, or like spoiled children throwing a tantrum, to tell this omnipresent spirit what to go do with itself. Because it doesn't listen to prayers like people think it does. It listens to what they imagine, good or bad, and provides the power and energy to bring into manifestation whatever the individual Atma is imagining. This is what traps people, their own energy, misdirected in negative and positive ways, simultaneously throughout their life. The imagination is meant to be used in one correct way, to intentionally and of full awareness imagine new ways of doing things that will be of benefit to all life, not just life on Earth. All life out in the grand multidimensional creation on all levels. That's what we're meant to be doing. Even running a body on Earth, we're meant to be experiencing the sensory apparatus of a physical body and going through the experience in life, running it as an Atma, and coming up with new insights and ways to do things. The purpose for all this, which is changing now, is to do what we've never succeeded at doing before. And that is to make the lower dimensions of time and space that have a dual current running through it, supposed to be woven around each other in harmony with a third golden white light around it, is split into two different opposing forces in the consciousness of people. And that's wrong. It should be like the yin and yang symbol, two teardrops circling around each other with a third energy, keeping it in balance to bring things into manifestation. People have been twisted to run the split of the current through their consciousness, so they imagine in two ways, all day, every day. And this splits them in half as far as their ability to imagine and create new ways of doing things. So when people learn how to imagine and choose to imagine just what is good for all life, their life changes. Because it's like telling this omnipresent force that people pray to, which is a co-creator only with us, to create freedom for us and get us out of this trap, because you wish to do with it what is beneficial to all life. And that is the key to unraveling this tight knot of unconsciousness. It just is.
And those who have more questions can write to us, right under this video, or send an email to me, or contact you through your website, right, Scott?
Yeah, if they're sincere. I don't have time to waste with silliness, but if people contact me through the contact page at paralleltime.com, I will answer them. I've been doing
Let me
that for
put the
years.
link under these videos, okay?
Yeah, I can do that. But they're also going to ask, they're Thai people, they're going to ask you because they know you can speak Thai.
Yeah.
So that's
But
important too.
Yeah.
For people that speak English, they can write to me, or you.
Yeah.
It's fine. But it's a practical issue. At some point, I may be able to speak all the languages of this planet. I certainly have the ability when I'm out of my body. The body I have here has certain genomes shut down in it at birth. They were passed on genetically. I didn't choose to be in this body or choose the parents I chose or I'm with. That's part of the book of the Savior's Agenda, explains kind of what happened to me, because everything revealed in that is from my direct experience only. So if I speak with any confidence, it's not arrogance or an ego trip. I'm not doing it because I think I'm better than anybody else or anything. I'm doing it because there is a quality of an awake being called knowing certainty. And when you know what you know about hidden truth, you really know it, and it's permanent. Otherwise, you just have faith and belief, and there's doubt behind all of it. It has to be, because there's no direct confident experience associated with what people believe. They're trusting in some outer authority to tell them what to believe in. Those outer authorities were created by tyrant kings on this planet to control people, period. That is how they evolved. If people know that, then they're going to want to seek to find answers within their own being and wake it up. Otherwise, they're never going to know for sure. All that I do is provide the hue and certain very special techniques and some guidance for people to begin to recover this for themselves by their own direct experience. That is the purpose and focus of my work and purpose for my being on this planet at this time. I came here as a diplomat to work with world leaders to help change this place 70 years ago. And myself and others were turned down. In my case, I never even got to meet with them. I was captured en route to this planet, forced in a body here. I was coming here as an adult male, highly trained from other world systems. So, everybody on Earth is an extraterrestrial, means that they didn't originate here. They're running a body here now. They got born, but they didn't originate here. No human being ever evolved on this planet in its history, going back 65 million years to the extinction of the dinosaurs. Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal are extinct humanoid species. They are not linked with us. Human beings in this form have existed for billions of years out in the galaxies. We did not originate on Earth, didn't evolve as human beings to this degree on this planet. That is huge and new, and I'm probably the only one even sharing that with people on Earth with certain confident knowing. It's like Torelli, an ambassador of the Sayres race, who I introduce people to on these journeys when I take them out of their bodies during a radio show. People ask, how do we do it? How do we do it? How do we have the experience? Well, there is no way for you to have any experience unless you use your imagination, unless you can allow yourself to understand that how you see when your eyes are closed in the universe is not fantasy, and it isn't being made up in your brain. They need to know this, or they're never going to get it. Close your eyes and imagine a beautiful woman, a hummingbird hovering in front of your face, or a beautiful waterfall, or life on another planet or another dimension. And whatever you see, call it daydreaming, you're really seeing it somewhere. It may have the distortions through it from subconscious fear that distort those images as they come into you. Yes. Same thing happens with dream recall in the morning. Sometimes it's very clear. You're flying in a body somewhere in the astral plane. Sometimes it comes in all jumbled, or people think it's like a nightmare, or they're chased. Those are subconscious implant programs affecting what you bring back to the body when you wake it up in the morning. That's all that is. Most of it isn't real.
Scott, can I mention this to give tricks to people who joins us the journey? Because at the first time or at the beginning, you might find that it's difficult to follow and imagine what Scott showed us.
But let's
Okay.
not do that because many people don't have difficulty with it. A few do.
Okay. Okay,
So
I'm
let's
sorry.
not put that out there as if they're going to have
Right.
trouble. Some
Okay.
will.
Do it many times. Go on journey many
Well,
times.
you know, the beauty of recording this, I record it on my end. I send the recording to you. You put it on your YouTube channel. It's your radio show, not mine. It's easier for me to record the quality of the recording from my end than it is from you in Thailand, just because I know how to do it and I have a microphone and an interface and can get higher quality. When I do the hues in part of the journey, you want to hear them clearly. And this is fairly recent in my work, but using a studio microphone and an interface, I can create better tone qualities than you can through a little microphone and a little camera on a desktop computer. They're very limited, like a cell phone. They can't handle very much depth of frequency. So they'll block out or distort when you try to sing or something through. But I figured out how to do this. So when we go on a journey, if you believe you can't see anything, then this is how you were brought up. It isn't true, but if you believe you can't see anything, you're telling this omnipresent energy that's unlimited in power to make you blind, to keep you unaware. And you need to change that thought structure. You need to change that. Start telling yourself that you can see something. Because everybody I've ever worked with that said they couldn't see anything, and I take them back and say, okay, remember when we were doing this? Did you see that person hovering in space? Well, yeah. Then why are you telling me you can't see anything? It's always the same. They're just in
Yeah, because
denial. They're afraid, or they've told themselves for all their lives they can't see anything or imagine. And they just built this up. It's nothing more than an artificial construct that tells this one power behind everything to keep you unconscious of what you're seeing. And it will do that. Divine Spirit will do that to everyone. It
you
isn't
have
what
to
people
allow
think.
yourself.
It isn't
Yeah.
what people think it is. It is a living one energy from the source behind all life that is meant to be a co-creator with us. We're meant to master the imagination, period. Because that's how gods create in eternity. What did he just say? Oh, we're meant to master the imagination, period, because that's how gods create in eternity. What do I mean by that? The Atma is godlike, goddess-like. It has the same qualities and characteristics and energies, the source behind all life itself. It's supposed to be creating new ways of doing things and bringing it back home from whence it came. That's the problem. People have not been returning home from the lower dimensions back to the source. And to change this universe, to retire the experiment of evil, it has to be replaced with something that actually motivates people to only create that which will be of an uplifting benefit to all life. And to do that, they have to recover the awareness of all the vast nature of life that's out there beyond Earth. Because you have to respect it, or you cannot create freedom and enlightenment. Because there are safeguards built into the creation that aren't going to allow people to go out there and wreak havoc on the whole creation. They need to be kind, awake. They need to decide to drop fear and retribution and revenge and hate and anger, no matter who killed them before in another life. They've all killed somebody before too, or done something bad. The point is karma and reincarnation, being born unconscious in a woman, through a woman in a baby body, ends for a being when they are awake enough to stop giving it energy. What did I just say? Karma, the need to come back in lives to become perfect, is an illusion. Why? Because the Atma is part of the source. It's already perfect. You can't make it more perfect than it is, but you can get it to recover the fact that it is. And that's what this is about. Okay.
Keep on many journey, keep on going on many journeys, the experience will come.
Well, because I
Currently,
record this and you put it on your channel, people can play it back whenever they want. You'd be surprised at how many people get mindlessly entertained by one of these journeys, think they're not making any progress, and they're sitting on their duff, not really doing anything to change anything. They want it done to them. This is not the way it works. They're going to have to pick up their britches, work with the techniques, and work it and recover what they've told themselves to forget or been compelled by tyrants in some other life somewhere to forget. Everybody's been through it on Earth. So that means the only way to go for people on Earth now is up. You can't get any more down than not remembering who or what you are, or running around the body looking in the mirror and saying, am I one of these bodies? And not knowing? That's not normal. It just isn't. Okay. We go on a journey. I ask that people get relaxed. Take several deep breaths. And on the outgoing breath, all that I'm asking you to do is to turn off, to send away your fears of the present and the future. Your current physical health, marriage status, children, whatever it is you're doing, the body is going through what it's going through because you've helped put it there without knowing it, one way or another. Even in other worlds and other lives, it's led you here. Now, to reverse all that, a person needs to become aware that they aren't a physical body and have never, ever been one. Ever. We cannot be a machine. A carbon-based life form with double-stranded DNA with genomes on chromosomes is a type of machine that was developed by very advanced beings long ago in galactic history so that the Atma could run it, gain experience through it, and bring that experience back home. This was the original idea. The real purpose for the lower dimensions of time and space ultimately is to make them mirrors of the upper worlds beyond the void. And we still have this task to complete. The difference is there's a new kind of consciousness moving through this one omnipresent universal spirit that was not there before, that was brought into creation recently in the upper worlds, which you'd call heaven, far above the lower planes of time and space, and has been tested and sent into the lower worlds and brought back up there and came back on an incoming wave as true, necessary, and kind. When those three requirements are met, things change in the upper worlds and then they direct change in the lower worlds. We're all involved in this. And if we want to stop playing with the silly, childish, nonsensical garbage of good and evil, then we're going to have to give up adding our energy to it. We have to simply stop agreeing with it and start doing something constructive. And this takes conscious awareness as a being, not a body. So when you breathe out, you're just putting all your fears on a shelf in your imagination, like the shelves in your room. You think of them as computer programs on disks and laptops and whatever. And all you're really doing is refusing to give energy to subconscious drives. And when I start the hue and start sending it out, it's going to assist you as a new ray in the omnipresent first sound, the hue itself, first half of the word human, hidden in plain sight, by the way. And it's going to assist you to put the body in the trance state we call sleep that you put it in like an expert every night anyway. It's a complex process whereby you direct, usually unconsciously, the pineal gland to secrete serotonin, make melatonin, and these are things that make the body run on automatic, heart work, lungs work, blood circulate, when it's just dormant, when it's just sitting there. The being that makes the body run and be active and have animation and to work, move around is the Atma. The brain itself, by itself, can't make the body do anything. You got to be aware of this. It's very important. So it puts the body in this trance state to keep it alive and healthy while you're out exploring creation. All you're doing by listening to my voice and by staying tuned to this kind of guided experience, which I work with friends from off-world, very advanced master teachers and beings who I love and trust, who are kind and wondrous, who do not have subconscious minds at all, like people on Earth do. Some of them are trained to remove these subconscious implant programs. Each of you will have to have your own experience with this when you're ready. Imagine someone you love and respect, you're grateful they're in your life. It's a person, place, or thing, but something genuine that makes your heart glow or makes you smile inside. The body begins to go into a sleep state or a deep meditation, however you want to look at it, through the sound of my voice, which is a channel, a conscious co-creative channel of the omnipresent driving energy behind all creation, which is pure, even in the void of space. In the void of space between planets and moons and suns and stars, there is no negative and positive at all. No negative emotion, no negative imagination, like is saturated in the atmosphere of planet Earth. Because emotion and thought frequencies are measurable on an oscilloscope and they bounce off the ionosphere just like a radio wave. And they're still in the atmosphere of the planet. People will pick up on these diabolical things and act out scenarios that aren't even their own. If they're vulnerable enough and negative enough or fearful enough, etc. Working with the hue shuts down negative emotions and negative imagination programs. Remember this. That way, when you're working with it, this is what your focus is. It's co-creative. You have to want it to shut them down. You're asking it, praying to it in a sense, by imagining them not affecting you. When this makes your body go into the trance state, which is not hypnotic, by the way, it is I call it a trance state because the body acts like it's on automatic. No one's home. There is an energy link between the white core of the sphere of the being you are as an Atma or soul and the pineal gland in the center of the brain. It is not a golden cord or a silver cord for the astral plane that can be broken. It is comprised of the hue expansion ray energy, the pure energy behind all creation that links right into the void of space, which isn't a void, and up in through the planes to the source itself. And once that source becomes aware you're attempting to connect with it again, it begins a process of unraveling the tight knots of your life. I'll begin these tones now to get not only your physical body, but your astral emotional self on the astral plane, the life you're living in the causal, mental, and etheric planes below the void, to go to sleep at the same time. Why? Safely, so that you, the spherical being, may journey across the void into the upper worlds. Some of you may not have done this for billions of years. Becoming aware of it is the first step to being able to imagine it, and being able to imagine it is the way you tell this omnipresent force what to do with you. Because it only works with what you imagine. Imagination comes from the white core, the center of your being as a spherical entity, and it's your way of seeing into the multiverse, plugging into the one energy to know things with it. And when you know things with it, you know it with confident certainty. No doubt, no fear, no speculation, no debate, no theory whatsoever. No faith, no belief, direct knowing. This is our true nature and what we're capable of achieving. I'll begin these tones now. You. Daydream or imagine that you are a sphere of energy hovering near your ceiling, looking down on your body with the eyes closed, sitting in a chair or lying down. And of course, you need to do this or you're not going to gain the experience you desire. Look down kindly on that physical form you're running on Earth, knowing that it didn't learn any of this growing up on this planet from anyone. This does not mean that you didn't once understand it. It just means, for whatever reason, you were compelled or forced to forget it long ago. Working with the hue in this way, as I do, and others not from Earth, begins to assist you to recover what you were made to forget, the discovery of deliberately hidden or suppressed truth about who you are as a being and your purpose for existing, which is to be a co-creator with the source behind all life. Be in the atmosphere at 10,000 feet above where you live, looking down on the town. You can focus and see the house or the room where you are, and look right through the ceiling and see that you are a sphere of light hovering above that body, and you are a sphere of light up in the atmosphere. Both places simultaneously, because this, what you really are, is multidimensional capable. And it can be in both places at the same moment, stationed there. Be in space above the earth. That's right. You've all seen photographs, time lapse photography of the space shuttle and satellites and Hubble telescope looking at Earth and the moon. And you're looking down on it as a spherical energy being. You're not alone. I'm there. Perry is there. Some master teachers from the Galactic Alliance and from other dimensions have joined us, and they're in a circle around a particularly kind, wondrous friend whose name is Ambassador Turellian. And he is an Atma like us, but not from Earth. He is manifesting a physical body standing in space, materializing out of the omnipresent energy that surrounds us, which is a white golden light. It's not black like you see in a photograph. It's only that way because physical eyes on Earth can only detect a certain amount of frequency. Above it, we don't see it, but it doesn't mean it's not there. So in space, when you look around you, you see a white golden light filling, vibrantly filling this so-called void of space between the Earth and the moon and the sun, billions of stars in our galaxy which twinkle and show themselves brightly over this white golden light. And it's out there in space between galaxies and up through all the dimensions. It is not nuclear in nature. It is not atomic. You, as a being hovering above Earth, are not made of atoms. You are energy, but not as it's understood on Earth just yet. And there's Perry, and there's me off to her right and off to her left. Several of you other people on this journey. You are a spherical being, and the body that you have on Earth is standing in space in front of you. It's energy projection, looks just like you. It's not a physical body, looks like you, doesn't need to breathe, doesn't feel heat or cold, doesn't feel radiation from the sun, and is about 36 years of age, perfectly, flawlessly healthy. This is the way you look projected to others when you're above the Earth planet and all its negative atmosphere. This is how we know each other, which means the human form, how it looks, is first designed as energy, and then it becomes a body that you eventually get into or are forced into with no awareness. Here above the Earth, you are a spherical being that has a white core of energy like a sun. And around it is another layer of teardrop shape, self-effulgent, self-luminous, little lights that make up a yellow layer around a white core. These are higher faculties of being, what they look like, what soul looks like. Above that becomes an orange layer through the spectrum of light. Then a green layer, then blue, then lavender, then violet, and around it is a white golden energy field. A protection around the Atma you are, the individual being from the source behind all life. And here you are floating in space with a body that looks like you, standing out in front of you, smiling and being happy around Turellian. And he's got an 18-foot tall body. Looks like a Greek god with long, slightly curvy blonde hair, pointed ears, and big blue eyes, about 36. He's holding two thumbs up, which is a kind of mood raise, putting out a certain energy that's consistent so that the space we're in is only uplifting and beneficial. And he will maintain this energy field until you get it, you grok it, you understand it, until you can create it in your own life. Serving as an example is what he's doing. Not by showing you data on a blackboard, by being an example. And we are in telepathic, not psychic, telepathic communication with him. He is there in the center of us in a circle around him as a focal point so that we stay focused and gain some benefit from this journey, not get scattered in all the phenomena that's out in the physical universe. When you look at Earth, you can see the polar ice caps from the oceans and the land masses, and you can see the barren moon covered with meteor craters that does not turn on its axis as it moves around the planet. This creates an imbalance in the water within your bodies because it doesn't turn, and it makes it more difficult for people to control their emotional reactions to things on Earth. But it can be done. The real you, the Atma, needs to be aware this is what's happening. And then you can simply choose to be very constructive and positive, say during a full moon, because the energy increase from the sun to the planet can create either a positive experience for people or a very negative one. It simply ups the energy. Where we focus our imagination determines the outcome of that energy. Then you're going to see the planet like a heat wave in space change. And the planet is now Earth in the same place, but it's on a higher parallel dimension molecularly. It's an Earth that actually exists in the third higher parallel dimension above the one you're used to on Earth. And there's one continent centered over the equator from the left to the right hemisphere. No polar ice caps. Surrounded by oceans, you can see right through the planet. On the other side is another continent, 2/3 its size. That is still called Mu or Lemuria. And on the other side, Atla, which is a colony of that front continent. But there's no leadership here, no tyrants, no royalty. And you can see the moon. But in this case, the moon is full of oxygen, clouds, rain, little lakes, little oceans, little continents, dome cities, 5 on the front side, covering 3 4-sided, golden-sided quartz-crowned pyramids. They are devices. And as the moon turns on its axis and has gravity here, there's 2 big dome cities in the mountainous area on the back side. Down in the bottom of this continent, which moves from the left hemisphere up towards the North Pole and then curves around and goes down towards the Eastern Hemisphere, and then down towards the South Pole and curves back up towards the Western Hemisphere, is a crescent-shaped, glowing emerald green beach you can see from space. I take people here and help them to see it and imagine it because the beings that work on that world and that moon have no subconscious minds. They are members of the Galactic Alliance, the Se raised, Oceanans from a world in a third parallel dimension where this world is, across the Milky Way galaxy, who are masters of crystal-based science, and other beings in the galaxy, master teachers from different dimensional realities. They work together in a dome city just to the bottom of the left side of a single snow-crowned mountain on a tropical area, and they're the southern pole, about a third of the way up from the southern pole, no polar ice caps. And the emerald green beach you're seeing, when you look down, you suddenly see bare feet, your bare feet, 36-year-old perfectly healthy body, wiggling your toes in this glowing emerald green soft sand. And you can feel the green energy move up your legs, up through the top of your head. You look up smiling, and you, a sphere, Atma, soul, is looking down on yourself. Both are you. One is a physical energy form you've created to experience the vibrations and environment of this place. Yes, you're capable of doing that. And that green energy will come up into the white core of your being and move out through the teardrop-shaped layers to the green area where it turns on a number of them in the circle of green light that surrounds the core of your being. This has to do with recall and remembering. Courage to confront what happened in the past you're terrified to remember, but to see it only as a memory and not a threat. When you do that, all the hidden higher faculties of being begin to resurface. This is about implant removal. The removal of artificially created programs by tyrants are forced on you before you were born on Earth. No one comes to Earth of free will under a contract to be born here dumber than a brick with no memory. That's just silly. People do that and say that because they want to feel good about themselves, but in reality, they know they're supposed to remember and know who they are. Of course, they are. When you look at this sand wiggling your toes, the whole sandy beach you see in a crescent curve is glowing about a foot above the beach. When you look out offshore, there's Torelling, 18 feet tall, standing with the ocean water up to his knees, smiling. 2 thumbs up, still here. When you look towards the jungle, you see these beautiful tropical trees and a brown moss-covered path leading back about a mile straight towards the single snow-capped mountain off to the right inland a few miles. And off to the left, near the base of a higher plateau, you can see a clear crystal dome covering 3 four-sided golden pyramids with quartz caps, a emerald green blue lake, little ivory domes and little trails and walkways, and a semicircular mountain range with waterfalls built in the backside of this dome. It's quite large for the aesthetic pleasure of the people who work here. Inland, about a mile, is a white marble floor about 100 feet across in a cleared in the jungle. And we're now hovering around it as Atmas, all of us around Trillian, up above the jungle looking down on this single statue of a woman made of polished quartz, 10 feet tall, on a pedestal. And she has a white gown on, and she's got her 2 hands out with palms out with green light glowing around her palms. And you can get immediately that this device is charging that beach. When you look at her, she has long silver metal-like hair, like silver metal, but you know it's soft. It just looks like silver metal, and she has violet eyes. She's about 10 feet tall with a longer neck and longer fingers and feet than we have on Earth. She's not from Earth. When you look at her forehead, she has a single gold band around her forehead and a teardrop-shaped faceted emerald-cut stone. And when you look in the stone, you can see that there is a woman. You can see, it's like you're looking through a microscope, and you can see a big, huge green area in a big soccer stadium-sized field. And she's standing in the atmosphere in there, the actual person. And suddenly you find yourself inside in an interdimensional doorway through this quartz crystal device. And you're standing in a circle in a physical form that's energy, looks like you about 36, and the sphere you are is hovering behind that form. And she is telling you telepathically, you hear it, that she is from a world called Xeontranamus, a race from Xeontranamon 1, a planet 4 times bigger than Earth, located on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. And beside her appears a man, a little taller. That's her mate. They are showing you body forms they have on that planet that are 3.5 million years old, a little older. They are masters of genetic science in the physical universe. Their genomes on their bodies have been analyzed. They know how to control them, turn them off and on. Their bodies do not age. They're showing you their world off to the left in this green atmosphere. Beautiful world, no polar ice caps, 4 times bigger than Earth, little continents all over it, oceans everywhere, and domed cities all over its surface. And out encircling this planet are 3 moons, no polar ice caps the size of Earth, with domed cities on them at different distances from this planet. And further out, you can see that this planetary system and its moons revolves around 3 suns. It's a trinary system. There's a blue-white giant closest. A little further out, a yellow sun like our Earth. A little further out, what's called a red dwarf. And they circle the big sun, and these planets circle all 3. The next moment, you find yourself walking along a violet sandy pathway on a snake-like winding emerald blue-green river. And in the distance, you can see flat mesas like you might find in Sedona, and a big dome city covering 3 big golden-sided pyramids off in the distance. and below these mesas. And you're walking along, the Atma moving beside it, moving this body forward, this energy body, and two beings approach you in their physical bodies. And they are this man and this woman on their planet walking along this violet sandy pathway beside the river. The man's name is Zonantalus. The woman's name is Freshun Muntis. They are humanoid, far more advanced. And you can see a spherical Atma hovering above each one. And it is that core, white core of those beings that are talking to you, not the body forms. And they can walk up to you and you can see them. They're taller than you. You look up, very elegant, like human swans. They are also teachers in what's called the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, where I guide some people that is above the void known to certain esoteric groups on earth, including most Buddhist monks, who are very disciplined, but they need to be able to imagine what is beyond that void or they will not go there. So they teach up there, and they have lives, physical forms on this world, on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy. They run or are in charge of a little more than half of the Milky Way galaxy. They've never had war in that part of it. Several wars have happened in the other side where the Galactic Alliance is. The last one ended 500,000 years ago. Tyrant races have been policed ever since. Then you find yourself above the Earth again, around Turelian, looking down on the Lemuria, the emerald green beach, no polar ice caps, the moon, with its oxygen and atmosphere and clouds and dome cities turning on its axis. And then you find yourself looking out into space, and you see a white golden light filling the place, the black, what you would normally see as a black void in a photograph. It's a white golden light between Earth, the moon, and the sun and the stars. And you look at each of us, the white core of our being, and the physical energy form about 36, standing in space around Turelling with his 18-foot tall body. And you realize that the white core of our being is a white golden light that's identical with the light in the void of space. This is toroidal, 0-point energy, the energy of creation. And this energy that packs the void of space, what people used to call dark matter, is living, powerful energy. It's not a void at all. It's just no oxygen to breathe there. It also contains no negative thoughts or emotions. So we're free from that while we're in the Atma form above planet Earth. On other journeys, I would take people to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy. But I think we've done enough this time, and we'll go there on a next journey, the next radio show, to explore and remember what it is our purpose is for existing. In the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, beyond the void, there are no stars, no planets, no moons, no suns. Everything there floats in different energy fields. And when things form, they are maintained by beings as forms for teaching purposes. In the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, we learn with others and master teachers who teach us by example how to co-create new ways of doing things for the uplifting benefit of all life. That is created in the upper worlds and then implemented in the lower worlds when the time is right. This is our purpose. If you look above you, you'll see a vortex of blue-green water-like light form, and then all of us move up through it. Turelian's in the center. There's a master teacher named Ramu, one named Opelum. They're from different world systems. Humanoid. Opelum has pale blue skin, long, shiny black hair, and beautiful, big green eyes. He's from a planet called Oceania. in the third parallel dimension of the physical universe, just like the Earth world with the continent of Lemuria on it. On that world, poles never change. That world and its living moon will be used as a prototype to create the way our world and moon will one day be. As we move up through this column of light that's peacefully whirling around us, you can hear the sound of the hue, as if millions of men and women's voices are singing it on many levels in perfect harmony. And it's drawing you upward. And up at the other end of this vortex, you see a very brilliant blue atmosphere. In the next instant, we're on the other side, looking down at this vortex vanish and disappear. Now we're hovering high above 6 snow-covered mountain peaks, looking over a continental landmass that's completely round. Surrounding it, it's floating in a blue atmosphere. And if you look closely at the blue energy, you'll see a white golden light behind it, supporting it. When you look to the edge, as far as you can see a white luminous beach surrounding the entire circumference of this floating circular landmass. This is the U Expansion Ray Academy, and it is above the first, fifth reality above the void. It is between the fifth and sixth dimensions above the void, made of pure positive energy. And here, there is a Hue Expansion Ray Administration Tower down to the left of one of the 6 mountains towards the west, coming out of a white marble floor. It extends up with clear, glass-like blue sides to a flattened spherical area and up to a minaret point. At the base of the white marble floor around it are white roadways that go straight as an arrow like the spokes from a bicycle tire in every direction. And behind it, they go through tunnels through the mountain ranges and come out tunnels on the other side of the hull of the interior to end on the white sandy beach that circles this whole landmass. If you look to the west, you'll see there is a roadway, white, that ends at the white sandy beach off in the distance. And off to the left and the right, all the way down it, are little white roadways that go into clearings. And there are spherical, pyramidal, rectangular, all kinds of structures here that are teaching facilities. Out at the end of the roadway, you're going to find yourself suddenly hovering with Torellian and several other beings here. The Zientronamus couple, remember, violet hair, violet eyes, silver hair, are with us, and they're pointing down to a clearing, the last left turn into a clearing before you come to the beach. And in it are 3 structures: a tall, thin pyramid building, golden-sided, a spherical building on 3 tripod legs with a clear blue, light blue top through which you can see worlds in space revolving, and another building that's rectangular with rounded edges, and it has vertical, oval, what do you call convex, clear, like glass-like windows, and through it you can see different planets. Now, this is a teaching facility that the Zientronamus couple command, one of many in the U Expansion Ray Academy. So what we're going to do is go and hover above the central sphere. You can see a lens-like blue lens over the top, and down through it, you can see this planet, Zientronamus 1, we just visited. And you can see it directly down, circling 3 suns and 3 Earth-like moons. And we're going to move right down through it. It's an interdimensional doorway, a direct projection tool. They're going to lead the way, Torellian's going to follow, and we're going to go right through it and find ourselves walking along that violet sandy beach near the snake-like river with the red mesas off in the distance, and in the valley in the distance, a big dome covering 3 golden pyramids. And they're standing before us in their actual physical bodies. You with an energy body that looks physical, and the Atma is this couple pointing to their city, to the beautiful light blue atmosphere of their planet. It's a very vibrant, very high energy feeling here. There's no negative nature here. That's in the physical universe of our galaxy. And then you find yourself hovering above this dome, coming right outside of it and hovering above the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, surrounding Turelian, and you look down and you see these 6 snow-covered mountain peaks. And down in the center of the valley between the 6 peaks is a white marble floor, and surrounding that a blue-green luminous lake, circular. And we're surrounding this white marble floor, and about a 4-foot high rectangular, what's called lapis lazuli, it's a blue stone with gold lace through it, polished, is a cobalt blue sphere, luminous, with a blue star radiating in its center. And we look at it and find that we're suddenly surrounding this radiant blue star in a huge void. And when we look outward, we can see through the surface of this crystal and see the 6 mountain peaks towering around us. Then you're going to find yourself inside the radiant blue star in an energy field of gold white light that's manifesting the blue atmosphere of the Hue Expansion Ray and emanating and maintaining it, including the landmass. You can see a white golden shaft of light coming down into this blue star from above, from planes above. And then you see it's transmitted straight down this blue column, and you can see all the way through it, all the way back to Turelian and all of us hovering around him in space above Earth. The Earth you're familiar with, with polar ice caps and a barren moon. And then you see yourself hovering above your body back on Earth, smiling kindly down at that physical form you're running on the planet. All that you're doing now is allowing a thin white golden light, a little beam from the white core of the sphere you are, to come down into the pineal gland, the center of your brain, turn on some brain cells, really they're already on, but give you more access to more of the brain instead of 6 to 10%, which most people have access to out of 100% fully developed brain. It's increasing. Give you more capability to comprehend and understand. You're bringing the memory of this journey, the awareness of it, and downloading it into a brain and body that never had any experience like this. Gently allowing it to be there, the best of your ability, and letting it flow through you in a continuous stream, this white golden light from the core of your being, where it will continue to move out into the earth world and connect with 3 massive pyramids that are now stationed on Earth. 2 at the bottom of Earth's deepest oceans, 4-sided golden pyramids with quartz caps, and a white alabaster fountain in the center of each one, a shaft of white golden light coming out into it, and 1 inside a mountain hidden in the Himalayas. And those are radiating pulsing energy out into the earth, and then it continues out into space, where they connect with a pyramid, a very large pyramid, stationed between 2 stable asteroids floating in space in the asteroid field between Mars and Jupiter. And then it's manifested outward into pyramids that are stationed between stars now. And you are part of co-creating this dynamic change. We have to be. Life on Earth must recover and remember who it is if we're to play among the stars. When you're ready, open your eyes. Hi, Perry.
Hi, Scott. Thank you. I have to admit that at the beginning of the journey, I fall in sleep too, but
That's okay. I wasn't going to take us to the Hue Expansion Ray Academy, but Turelian inspired me to go ahead anyway. Might as well ground people in something that has nothing to do with negative nature they originated from, and have them come back here so that they can begin to, recover this awareness while they're on Earth. Well, okay, I guess then I can say, go to paralleltime.com, PARALLELTIME. You can find Hue recordings of my voice sending out the Hue in 3-part harmony. One of them is 24 minutes long. It's looped, so it's continuous, and you'll hear a round whole tone running through that almost 24-minute recording. that was put there by Torelli, and I didn't record it. So it's a real channel. You can work with that. Don't become dependent on it. Also do the work. Work with the techniques in the back of the Say Raise Agenda book. Now that's this book, in case you don't have it.
Mhm.
This is not for resale. This is just a prototype book. But this is what it looks like. This is a mile-long cylindrical ship, double control rooms on both ends, that is stationed in the ice rings, the ice chunks that make up the rings of Saturn. These are Scout class craft about to go into the center of it. They do not have open launch bays. They actually change their molecular time rate and move inside the ship and then lower their molecular time rate. The ship remains sealed. This is stationed in our solar system to help us through this change. This is part of the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds. That's an Emerald Star Cruiser, in case you're wondering. You can also get this book, The Emerald Doorway, first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy. And as you can see, there's an actual, this is all original artwork commissioned and hired for this book. This is what the Atma looks like. That isn't the physical body. The real human being is not these. Okay. Sayonara then.
Sayonara. See you next time.
Okay, see you next time, Perry.